Hello and welcome to the episode of the Healthy Business Podcast, where I am joined by the lovely Dana Stevens, who is a business coach specializing in marketing, strategies, and mindset. So I'm super excited to be talking to you today, Dana, because I know this is something very close to my heart and something that I do a lot of teaching about myself. So I'm excited to see where our conversation goes. So thank you for joining me, first of all.
Thank you so much for having me. Absolute pleasure.
Oh, brilliant. I'm looking forward to seeing where our conversation goes, as I say. So, first off, what I normally do is start with the question, what does a healthy business mean to you?
That's a great question. I think it's two things. I think firstly, it's a business in which you personally thrive and not just survive. And I think that's really, really important. And secondly, it's a business that is itself healthy. And by that, I mean it's sustaining itself and it's profitable. And I think that's something that we sometimes not forget, but it's something just to be mindful of and make sure that it's a real profitable business earning its keep, because that in itself will be the thing that gives you balance and makes you be able to, take time out in your business and be flexible. So the two, I think, have to go hand in hand for you to really feel like you're getting what you want out of a business that is built around you and your needs.
Oh, I love that. It's so true. I think from my perspective that you're right. It has to be a business that works for you, and that's going to be different for everybody, isn't it? And I think that's what's also really important to remember is that someone's version of a successful business is actually going to be quite different to somebody else's version of a successful business and therefore healthy business, and what that profit level needs to be and what your take home kind of income is as well.
Yeah, and I think that is so, so important. And I talk to my clients about that a lot, your personal definition of success, because I think with so many people who've started businesses recently, lots of us have escaped a corporate career or a career that we weren't maybe either thriving in. And often our definition of success changed. Lots of people I work with did work in the corporate world before, and they were successful in inverted commas. They were earning lots of money. They were maybe at director level or the top of their tree, but they sort of looked around and went, actually, if this is success, it's not making me happy and it's not what I want. And it's not success for me. It might be successful what society defines success as. So it's kind of a weird moment where you've then got to reassess what success looks like for you personally, but it's so important. And like you say, it's not always about earning loads of money. It just needs to be that your business is profitable enough to be ticking over sometimes to allow you to do the things you want to do, whether that's, take some time out to spend with your elderly parents, or time out with your kids, or time out to just walk your dog in the middle of the day, or whatever it is that keeps you in a healthy headspace. It's working that out, what success is for you. And for some people that is money, but for some people it isn't. So it's absolutely about stepping away from the societal expectations of what success are and really looking into what you want and what you need and what your family needs if you're doing it to build it to work around your family.
Yeah, and it's that fulfillment piece, isn't it? That's sort of, where we kind of get to on so many different levels. We were having a conversation just before we came live around how our children are quite similar ages, and that is a juggle when you're running your own business. But actually, for me especially, it was one of the reasons that I left the corporate world, is that that juggle just became too hard, and meant that I wasn't spending time or able to spend time with the kids and things. And I think it's it's such a tricky one, especially for women who want to be there for families, or whether they've been on maternity leave and taking that break out, going back to the corporate space. Is that the right thing to do? We're pulled in so many different kind of directions, that guilt feel, that and it always has to go back to fulfillment, I think, and that version of success. And you were in the corporate world as well, weren't you?
Yeah, so I've for 18 years I've been working with different brands, either doing content creation. I started my career as a radio producer at the BBC, actually back in my first career. Then I ended up moving into the online world and social media, and I moved into advertising agencies. And then I was doing marketing strategies and content creation for lots of different brands like Cadbury, EasyJet, O2, lots of big names, until my most recent job, where I was head of planning, which is sort of head of strategy in a big London advertising agency, which was a big job with lots of responsibilities, and to all intents and purposes on the outside a successful career. I was earning good money and I'd worked my way up and at the top of the tree. But for me, the pandemic, like with so many people, was that real moment where I got to spend time with my kids. I got to look around, I got to be at home, and was like, oh, I don't want to go back to that anymore. That is no longer, you know, what success looks like for me, because I don't see my kids and I don't get to talk to my partner and I don't have time to even think about who I am or what I want to do. So that's why, you know, I retrained as a coach, and it's been really important for me to, you know, just spend some time trying to redecide for me what success looks like. And it does take time, because we are all conditioned by culture to think that it's status and title and money, and especially if you spent your whole career working towards that, it's a very interesting thing to detach yourself from that. But if you can do it, it gives you such an amazing freedom, and it's totally worth it.
Yeah, so interesting actually. I was on the other side, so kind of being brand owner and working for some big brands, and obviously then passing things across to agencies. And yeah, I mean, I remember just like turnaround times for that we'd send across to agencies was just looking back really awful. And I think
Yes.
being the client side versus agency side is, well, probably a whole different extra story that we could probably add into this.
A whole separate
But
podcast.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's a hard one, isn't it? And I think, you know, you're right when sounds like both of us kind of being at that kind of high level, decisions are being made, the world is running around, um, and things happen quite quickly in the marketing world, brand world, pharmaceutical, FMCG, you know, all that kind of thing. It's things move quickly. And I think, especially as you said, through that pandemic, decisions have to be made a lot quicker, because in an uncertain world, you've got to keep making decisions. You've got to test things. You've got to see what's landing, what's not landing. And that kind of leads me into what we're really talking about today, which is around the mindset of marketing and what that is really. And, you know, being open to testing things, being open to kind of, you know, knowing your ideal client. Because if we stay still, which I know a lot of people have, and it's hard, but actually, if we do stay still, we're just not going to get those results, because the world is moving. It's the one constant, isn't it? Is the world is keeping changing. And therefore, we as business owners need to keep evolving too, seeing what our clients need, maybe changing ideal clients if that's not fitting. But so much of it always comes down to marketing, how we're talking to them and really getting under the skin of them. So the mindset of marketing, what does that mean to you as well?
Yeah, it's a really interesting one. So it's actually, when I was still working at that agency, I was helping out friends and family who'd maybe started up businesses, helping them with marketing strategy. And that's like kind of easy in inverted commas, as in I can tell people what the strategy is. But what I quickly realized was, if they didn't have the right mindset, if they struggled with their confidence, if they didn't feel confident enough talking about their product or themselves, or they didn't want to put themselves out there, or they just couldn't get things done because there were things holding them back, or they were self-sabotaging, whatever it was, they couldn't do it. So it didn't matter if they knew the strategies. So that's when I was training in and started reading about loads of mindset stuff and training in it, because I knew that was the missing link that would help them. And so with a lot of my clients, that's what we talk about. It's like, of course I will tell you the practical strategies, how to do things, because you need to know how to do marketing and how to use social media platforms or email marketing. But if you don't have the right mindset going into it, you just will find it very hard to implement it. So a lot of people, when they start out, they think that they need to just get up to speed all the time on all the social media channels, for example. And of course you do, but you really must work on your mindset at the same time, because that's the thing that's going to give you the confidence to use those channels and use them in the positive way. So one of the biggest things that people struggle with is selling either themselves, if they're a service-based business, or their products. And the amount of people that I've spoken to are just like, oh, I just, as soon as I have to start selling, I feel icky, and I just feels like sleazy and salesy. So that's like a core mindset thing for me, is like belief, working on the belief that your product or service is good enough, and getting really confident in that will mean that you won't feel salesy or icky, and you'll be able to sell with ease. And it is down to that belief, which is entirely mindset, right? So that's why, if you can work on that and that belief aspect, that's the thing that's going to shift the dial and make your selling so much easier, right? And just doing any marketing will be hard if you feel uncomfortable about it, if you feel like you are imposing on somebody by telling them about your product. So one of the key things to do there, to get to work on the belief, is to make sure that your product is great. It sounds like a really obvious thing, but sometimes they'll be like, well, I'm trying to market this thing and I'm not really sure if it's very good. It's like, right, well, you need to get sure. You need to be sure that what you're selling is good. So if you haven't tested it out on people, and there are lots of people that launch businesses and haven't, it's like get road testing it, get focus group going up, get people, either friends and family that if they're the ideal client for you, or through Facebook groups or whatever it is, get a focus group together, get people giving you genuine feedback. And if there's something wrong with the product or it's not quite landing right, then make the changes first before you start worrying about your marketing. Get the product absolutely right and get confident in it yourself. And then get some real testimonials from real people. That might mean at the beginning that you need to give your products to some people for free in exchange for some testimonials, and that's whether it's a product or a service. But get some genuine feedback about how your product is working or a service is working, and write it down, capture it. If they're giving it to you on the phone, write it down and start a bank on your computer, or if physically a notebook, however you want best to work, where you're putting all that positive feedback, you're putting it in one place. That's really important, because everybody has wobbly days. You have days where you're like, oh, why am I even doing this? I don't even know if I'm any good. You go back to that bank or that folder on your computer and you go, right, okay, this is why I'm doing it. People love it. It works. It makes a difference. I'm going to keep going, and you've just got to keep rereading those things, get to a point where you're really believing in your product and really understanding why it works for people. And then once you're really sure of why it works for people, then that's what you can communicate. When you've got real replies, responses, testimonials from others, you'll know the difference that your product makes to them. And then that's what you start selling. You start selling the impact that your product or service can make on people, not just the product itself. And then that just will shift you into another dynamic. You're not saying, I don't know, let's say you're selling, I'm trying to think of an example. I've got a reflexologist who is in my Facebook group, and it's not just about her selling 45 minutes of time for however much she charges. That's very transactional. And if you were to focus on that, you might feel like, oh, I don't know, is it worth the time? That's quite a lot of money. And you get caught up in all of that. Whereas if you're selling the benefits of that reflexology service, better night's sleep, much better relaxation, quieter mind, able to deal with the stresses of family life better after you've had that session, you can really focus on the benefits of that, then that's going to help you sell in a much more confident way, because you're selling, the outcome, the benefits of it, rather than the transaction that you're doing.
So true. I love it all. It's one of those, as you say, it sounds really obvious, doesn't it? Like, talking to the benefits. And I think that's where really understanding your ideal client kind of comes into it, understanding actually what they're struggling with, and then you providing that solutions, but you're selling it in a way that is talking to those needs. It's not, it's that total difference between features and benefits. And it is one of those really basic things, but actually no one cares whether it's 45 minutes or whatever. It's about the impact that you're having. It's about that real tangible solution or emotional solution that you are providing for that person. So yeah, no, I totally agree with that. And yeah, testimonials, just picking up on that one, it's something that other people are saying how great your product or service is. It's not about you telling people. That's the real kind of gold dust, isn't it? When you can get some great testimonials saying, I love working with Dana, or I love this product because of X, Y, and Z. That's the real amazing stuff that you can throw out there.
Absolute gold. And it's twofold. Number one, as I said, it's going to be the thing that will give you the confidence. That's the thing on a personal level that you can go back to every time you're having that wobbly day, or you're like, or before you've got to go and do a live or whatever to talk about your product or service. You can go back to that and be like, yes, that's what they liked it. But from a marketing point of view, it's also more convincing. It's the difference between, I don't know, a chef trying to tell you that their dish is the nicest dish and you should really try it, versus the someone at the table next to you going, I've just had this, it's amazing, and I loved it because of this reason and that reason. That's much more convincing. So someone else talking about the value that you've given, or the changes you've been able to, the impact you've had on their lives, is always going to be more convincing. And people are more than happy to share testimonials. And again, it's something that people can get uncomfortable about asking for at the beginning. That, I don't want to bother them. But 9 times out of 10, people are really happy to share something. Or if they've given you feedback in an email or on a phone call, you can just say, I really loved what you just said there. I've just written it down, or I've just got your email there. Would you mind if I featured it in my marketing? Sometimes your choice of word can be persuasive. If you say, not just can I use it, it's like, can I feature you in my marketing again? Because maybe they'll get a little bit of boost out of that. People like to feel like they're getting some social media exposure as well. And most people, again, if they've already given you some feedback, means that they don't have to go away and think of something or whatever it is, and they'll be more than happy for you to use it in your marketing. So it's just getting into the habit, and whenever you've finished with a client, that you, if you're a service host, that you send them a little form that you can just have pre-made, send them a form for them to fill in with feedback, or if it's a product that is just an automated email that always goes out asking for feedback. Like, not everybody's going to fill it in all of the time, but the ones that you do get back are going to be so valuable, and it will really help you. Again, it's a very practical thing that you can use in your emails or your social media, just quoting people's testimonials, and again, it's very convincing. It will help convince yourself and convince others, and it's just a very easy bit of content as well that you can use. So testimonials are gold dust, and if you're not asking for testimonials, if you listen to this podcast, make this one thing that you do this week.
Yes.
Go and ask some customers for testimonials. So powerful.
Definitely. And I'm going to build on that as well, actually, because to make a testimonial really rich and really speaking to the ideal client, don't just ask people for feedback in a generic way. Like, make sure you've got some really pointed questions that speak to those pain points of that ideal client. Ask them how they felt beforehand, and then ask them how they felt after either working with you or using that product. That's the real kind of rich stuff, because as you said, it's the because bit, it's the why people have chosen that and how they're feeling, rather than it just being the features around it. Because anyone can say, yeah, it was great to work with Sarah, but actually, what does that mean to anybody?
Yeah, exactly. You want the why it was so great for you personally, for that person, because you want to hear it in their words as well. You want to hear it in their language, and that's super useful as well, the language that other people use in terms of like the impact it's had on them, why it was important. Maybe, as you said, if you're asking them how they felt before they used your product or service and how they felt afterwards, that language is really useful to you in your marketing, because you can replicate that language and use that language because you're using real terminology that other people will use. So yeah, super useful to do that. And as you were saying, you can, if you ask those sort of questions, if you know the kind of comment you want people to say, which is, I loved using it because, and it did this for me, just write the questions in such a way that you're getting that response, and have them pre-written. So either copy and paste them every time, or just have them pre-done as a form. So it's minimal effort on your part, and you'll remember to do it, hopefully.
Yes. And then, as you say, it's a lot easier then to kind of hold it in a bank somewhere. If it's, a pre-written form, it all kind of is digitally done. Saves people a lot of time as well, if it's already in a pre-done form, or just a copy and paste section as well.
You can use something like Google Forms, which is completely free and so useful. And you write out the form. It's really easy to populate questions, and you can just send people a link to it. And then all the responses are gathered for you, like you say, in one place. And you can just go back to it whenever you need a boost or you want some content. So it's a perfect way to, enhance your marketing.
Definitely. And I love that idea of, we all have wobbles, whatever level we are, however many years we've been doing this. We all have those moments if we've had a bad day or a wobble or something's thrown us off kilter, and just reminding yourself that actually you are good at what you do, or your product is amazing at what it's supposed to do, it can be a real game changer in your productivity and your efficiency, but also then how you show up in the rest of your marketing for that day or that week or whatever it is. So yeah, no, I love the kind of the depth of the mindset in there. If someone is kind of listening to this and thinking, okay, my mindset's kind of okay, I do ask for testimonials, I think I'm kind of okay with putting out benefits, what would you suggest to them as being that kind of next step to kind of build up a bit of a marketing strategy?
I would say to really look at how you can differentiate yourself from other people out there in the market. And there's two ways of doing that. So one is really talking about what is really unique about you and your product. And again, sometimes this can take a bit of mindset work, because people will be like, well, I'm just, I don't know, I'm making candles and everyone's making candles, but there will be a really uniqueness to your product and your story. And the storytelling is really like the second part of it as well, which is really important. So the first part, again, people, and I do find this more with women that I work with, find it hard to talk a lot about themselves and their products, and they feel like, oh, I'm just, I don't know, they maybe got a voice in their head that tells them they're showing off, or that they're going on about it too much, or they're just feeling too salesy by going on. But really, that isn't being salesy. When you're selling to people, they want to know as much information as possible. Let's say I'm trying to buy a candle. there are so many candles on the market that the more I can know about what is unique about your candle, what is special about it, what makes it different from other candles that are out there, the more likely I am to be able to work out if it's right for me or the person I'm buying it for as a gift. So you are helping me by telling me the information. You are helping me by telling me more. So that's the mind shift reframe that you've got to get into, is that you're not imposing on people by telling them more, you're helping them, because you are helping them make a decision from all the other products or services that are out there. So if you go at it with that point of view, that the more I'm telling you about the detail of what I do or how I personally do things, or the particular way I source my ingredients, if you're a product-based business, you are helping the other person work out if your product or service is right for them. And you're helping them go, oh, actually, because you do it that way, I know you'd be great for my friend Sarah, or whatever it is, So really thinking about the more that you share and the more unique information you share, the more you're helping the person make a decision, is number one. And the way you can do that in an interesting way is through stories and personal storytelling. And it's a hackneyed phrase in the marketing world, but like that people buy from people. But in small businesses, it is so true. And people will buy from you because they they can connect with you and your personality and your values. And the big brands that I used to work with were spending millions getting you to know and like and trust their brand. Most businesses do not have those sort of budgets, but what you do have is an individual story and a person that people can connect with. So share your story, share why you set up your business, share why you're passionate about it, share why you think it's the best. Tell people why it's the best thing that's going to be out there, because you're going to help them by doing that. But share it in a way where you're telling really personal stories that are unique to you, because you will have an approach or a way you set up a business, the way you do things in your business. I don't know, maybe your partner works with you in your business, or your dog always comes to the office, or whatever it is. There's going to be some things about the business and how you run it that are unique to you that other people are going to connect with. So just don't be afraid to share that. It's not oversharing. It's not showing off. It's not being salesy to talk about these things regularly. It's helping people, and it will help people to know whether you're right for them and differentiate you in the market, and also know for some people that you're not right for them, and that's also useful as well. So don't be afraid to go out there, as yourself, and share stories about yourself.
Yeah, so I love it. It's almost better to be polarizing though, isn't it? I think, rather than just being kind of vanilla or beige or anything like that. And there is a place for everybody, and you can have done exactly the same qualifications as somebody next door or someone else online, but actually you are different. Like, all of us have got our own unique set of circumstances. We've had different experiences, we've got different family setups. Why you do what you do is potentially different as well. And one of the examples I use is going into a supermarket and you go down the strawberry jam aisle. Like, how many strawberry jams are there? But we all have an emotional connection to one of those jams, and we will choose probably the same one each time because there's a reason for it, whatever that reason is. But those big brands, and you're right, we don't have the budgets quite often as some of these big brands, but they've created this reason for us to connect to it, and we can do the same because we have got those different things. And people do buy from people. It is that the emotional connection is just such a big one. And I think especially what we've seen over the last couple of years, where we're in this kind of pandemic and we're seeing this need for emotional connection, human connection, that actually those stories do sell. And you don't have to tell your story warts and all of the deepest, darkest moments. That's not, I guess, what we're saying really. It's more finding those connection points and sharing that is really where the marketing comes in.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting one, because sometimes when you say to people, share more of your story, they think, oh God, I've got to share my life story. We're not saying share your life story. You don't have to share everything, so we're not talking about celebrity level where you've got to share every time you do everything, or everything about your family. You get to choose that. Again, it's really important that you have the boundaries in your business. You get to choose where it is, but it's sharing the story about you and your business journey. So, as you said, like why you've started your business, what success looks like for you, why these things are important, and when you're sharing, if you're sharing what you're doing that day, again, it's not about showing your kids or showing your house, whatever it is, but it's like, what are the business decisions you're making that day? How are you, who are you talking to that day in the business that's either going to grow your business? That's the thing that people are interested in. They're interested in how you and your business operates, because that affects them as a customer. So it's sharing in a way with boundaries that you're happy with. But sharing your business journey, so you don't have to go super personal. And of course, some people do share a lot of their personal life as well, and that's a choice that they can make. But if you're reluctant, or you're just starting out with social media, for example, and you don't want to, just dip your toe in the water with some of your business journey rather than your personal journey, and then it's up to you how far you share the rest.
Yeah, no, I think it's so true. As business owners, we get to make that call, don't we? We get to make those decisions as to what we share, how often we share it. But really, almost going back to that ideal client, what is interesting to them, because then you can create those content pillars around that actually means something to them as just as much as it is to you. And one of the things I'd kind of love to delve into is this sort of visibility, partly from a mindset perspective, but it's that consistency piece that I know lots of people struggle with, partly because of a mindset side of things, whether they feel like they're showing up too much or they feel like they're selling too much as well. So, what are your thoughts around this sort of visibility, consistency? Because there are so many different viewpoints on how many social media platforms you should be on, how many times you should be posting on social media, whether email marketing should be a part of that. There are so many different marketing techniques. I mean, the two of us know this, and I know it
Yeah.
can feel so overwhelming for people who are either just starting out in that marketing world or looking at kind of trying different things. There are so many different things, and social media is that one that does keep rearing its head because it's there, we're all in that world and kind of in that space. But yeah, I'd love to kind of delve into your thoughts on that one.
Yeah, I think social media is a really interesting one. And for a lot of people, it is like a big blocker for them, that they're just like, oh, I just can't get on with social media, or I don't like social media. And I think it's worth unpicking, because there's lots of people who might not like Facebook personally, right? And you might not like using it personally, but you're not using it personally here. It's different. If you go on there, I had a client that used to go on and be like, oh, there's these girls from my old school when I grew up, and they're always posting this and that. And I'm like, well, block them. If you don't like going onto Facebook and you avoid going onto Facebook because they're there, but you still want to use it for your business, then block all of those people, because you don't like seeing it anyway, right? And so you get to decide. Block all those people, or like hide all their posts, and just go in and do the business stuff you need to do. Give yourself 20 minutes, you go in, you do what you need to do, and you get back out again. You don't have to engage in the platform in a personal way if you're using it for business. And I think there's a distinction that you can make there as well. But in terms of, like you say, there's so much different advice about how you can use it and how often to use it. And at the end of the day, it's like everything in business, like we talked about at the beginning, you've got to decide what works for you and what will help you keep going. So there's no good saying to people who are starting off with social media, you've got to be on 4 platforms or whatever it is, because you will be overwhelmed and you just won't do it. So my first advice would be, like, if you are overwhelmed by it, is just start small. Just start, but start small, and start with 1 platform if that's all you can emotionally handle, or the time you've got that you can handle. But go, as you said, go back to your ideal client. If you've done lots of the work about who they are and where they are and how they consume media and all that thinking, and you've done a lot of thinking about that at the beginning, you'll have an idea of which social platforms they're on anyway. And then look at so let's say you decided your ideal customer is on Pinterest and LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And then you go, right, from there, what of those platforms do I actually feel some connection with myself? Maybe you hate LinkedIn, so you're going to take that. Maybe you don't really understand Pinterest at the moment, so you're going to take that out. So your ideal client's still on the other 2, they're still on Facebook and Instagram. And then you think, right, what are the time I've realistically got available to me right now? Because that might change in the next 3 months and 6 months, and you should review it regularly. But if you feel like you can genuinely only cope with one at the moment, then just start with one. Just start with Instagram, for example, and get good at that one channel. Build up your audience on that one channel. And then when you feel ready to take on another, and you've got some headspace, or you've got a bit more confident, or you've got some more time, then you can put another one into the mix. But trying to do everything at once will just usually make you not want to do anything at all. So I would always recommend starting smaller. And in terms of how regularly you post, again, it's going to be down to you. Of course, you can look around and see lots of people in your category or industry posting all of the time, but you don't know what extra support they've got in the background, what stage of their business they're really at. So just don't compare yourselves to them. Just think about what you personally can do. And I don't know, let's say something like Instagram, right? There's all different guidance out there, but usually it's something like minimum 2 to 3 times a week on the grid, and then daily on the stories. But, there's weeks where I don't post that often because I'm got other stuff going on in my business. And, I'm just like, well, that's okay, because I need to sort out this thing that's going on in my business, or I'm working on a product. And that is more important than me going out and talking about the product until I've got the product right. So don't beat yourself up about, these are suggested guidelines. They're not hard and fast rules. And like with anything in your business, you will find what works for you and also what works with your customers. If posting really regularly, you're getting into the groove and you love it, then great, carry on, but there is an element, of course, of the more consistently you show up and the regularly you show up, the algorithms like it is useful for that side of it, of course, but there's no point running yourself into the ground if you just come to resent and hate it, because then you'll just stop doing it altogether, which is what usually happens. So batch creating content, scheduling content is your friend. Do that. Absolutely.
Music to my ears. I love that. Yes. You're saying similar to me.
Yeah, I find it, if I haven't batch created a week of content or a couple of days worth of content, I'll just go a couple of days and I'll forget to do it, because I'm working on my business. I'm doing the business, the delivery of my business, and I don't have time for it. So that happens to everybody. That happens to us. And we're marketing people. We know how to do it. I know how to do it. But it's like, so it's going to happen to everyone who's not used to doing it as well. So if you can just set aside an hour or 2 hours to work on your content, and however you prefer to do it, a couple of days, a week, a month in advance, create it in batches and schedule it, and then you can just forget about it, and you've got a minimum amount of posts going out, even if that's just one a week, just so you've got one going out a week. Then you can build on that organically each day. If you've got time, if you feel like you want to share something, then you can do, but just trying to have a minimum amount going out, your future self will thank you and love you for it.
It's just that sense of relief, I think, isn't it? Knowing that, again, kind of going back to us having little children that need us. And if they get sick and we have to take time out of our business, that you still have at least a base level of content that is out there, that if you do have to, pull back from that sort of delivery piece, that's okay. And that's part of the point of running your own business that's flexible, I think. One of the really kind of words that keeps coming up for me is just it's just being intentional, like how you're spending your time, making sure that you're spending it in the right way for you, for your business. And that, and again, depending on what level you're at within your business and whether you have a team that you might be able to outsource that scheduling, or whether you need that time within your week to write that content and to schedule it, making sure that you've actually got that is part of running your business. Like marketing your business is part of running your business. And I think that's what is really coming out of here as well, is just being intentional, knowing what you need to put out there, knowing how to do it, and then actually going and doing it.
Yeah, and I think it's really good advice. And what you say is important, like it is part of your business. So if you've got a block about social media, but it is one of your key marketing channels, it's not going to be helpful for you to sit around and go, I don't want to do it. Because if it's one of your core marketing channels, you need to do it. So you've got to, so the facts aren't going to change that social media is one of your core marketing channels, and the fact that you would need to put content up there. So, but your thinking about it can change. So as you say, if you can be intentional about it and be like, right, every Monday from 9 till 11, I spend 2 hours batch creating my content and putting it out there. That is part of my business day. It's not. And then you create the content. That will feel very different from you going onto Facebook, scrolling a little bit, thinking, I don't know what to post, or now I've spent too much time, and now I've spent 40 minutes just looking at stuff. And then you won't feel like you've spent those 40 minutes being productive in your business. So then you will resent social media and you will think it's not a useful part of your business. So how you think about social media as being a professional part of your business can really change how you use it and how you use it efficiently and effectively. And also, a lot of people who talk to me who go, oh, I don't want to do social media and I want to outsource it straight away. That'll be the first thing I outsource. And I was saying, no, it's great that you're doing it now, because you will not be able to outsource it. Let's say your business grows. If you try and bring in a social media manager when you haven't been doing it yourself already, you will find it almost impossible to brief that person on your tone of voice, on the type of posts that perform well, on the type of photography that performs well, because you won't know. So this is brilliant that you get the opportunity to doing it now, learning from it. So then when your business does grow and scale, then brilliant, you've got the opportunity to outsource it. And if by all means you want to outsource social media, you'll know how to outsource it. You'll be able to manage that person, because it's not that you'll be able to just give it to someone. If your business grows, you'll still have to manage them and what they do. And you'll only get the skills to do that if you've done it yourself. And
Yeah.
social media is a great opportunity. Again, I think we can forget this now in the way that we're sort of so blasé about it. But, I'm old enough to remember a time when there was no social media.
Yes.
And, and
And doing marketing for big brands without it
yes,
as well, right?
exactly. Yeah, when there wasn't even the internet. Anyway, but the point is, if you imagine trying to run your business now without social media, imagine how limiting that would be. We're living in a great time where we get to use social media and all of the free tools that it has for free at any level. Back in the day when there wasn't social media and your business could only survive if you could pay for leaflets, or you could appear in a magazine, or you could get on television, or you were on radio, because you either had the connections or you had the right amount of money to do that. That's why business was limited to a lot of certain people from certain backgrounds. We are so privileged to live in a time where we get to use social media, not that we have to, we get to use it. And so that can just be a really interesting way to think about it. Like, this is a great opportunity and a great time to be using it. So approaching it from that frame of mind in a really positive way can be really helpful.
Yeah, it just brings us back into that mindset of marketing piece, though, doesn't it? Of actually, it's just shifting what marketing is. It is, if you want your business to grow, and marketing has to be part of that. And you get to choose what elements of, marketing channels, how you show up, the social media platforms that you use. All of that comes down to you, your personal preference, as well as understanding your ideal client. But the biggest thing here is the mindset. It's the reframe that marketing is part of running your business if you want it to grow and if you want it to scale. It's not something we can avoid. Even referral based, that is the type of marketing.
Yeah.
So it's just reframing that, I think, and leaning into it, being intentional, setting out that time to be able to do that as well. But also, yeah, I think taking a bit of a CEO approach to it as well, and kind of going, actually, this has to happen. So
Yeah.
let's work out a way that's going to make it happen in the best possible way for me and the best possible way for my business, which feels in flow, which doesn't feel like it's pushing water up a hill. Like, it has to feel, you have to feel comfortable doing it. You have to feel, genuine in doing it as well. And all of the things that we have kind of delved into a little bit today, I hopefully have kind of given people a bit of confidence, a bit of advice, a few tips on different things. Is there anything that knowing what we have spoken about, are there any kind of tips that you'd share with people as to kind of just wrap up and kind of summarize what we have been talking about?
I think, just as you said, we said a really brilliant thing there about just shifting what marketing is in your head. And I think just the final thing that would just be useful, I think, for some people is, when you think about marketing, think about it as building relationships with people, and it's gonna take time in the online world. And if you are spending time on social media, you'll probably see lots of people kind of suggesting that you can build your business overnight online. It will be easy. You'll get 10,000 followers, you'll get 10,000 a week, whatever it is. Most of that, if it sounds too good to be true, it is too good to be true.
Generally is.
Yeah. Building a business and a brand takes time. So your marketing will take time. So that's, if you approach it as that you're going to build relationships with people, like your social media, right? It's a conversation you're having with people. When you're sending out your emails, it's a conversation you're having with people that you're going to build up over time. And at some point in that journey, they may or may not buy from you, but that will be because they know you and they like you and they trust you. But that is going to happen over time. It's not going to happen immediately. You don't put your website out there and immediately get loads of sales. You need to build relationships with people. So thinking about your marketing as you having relationships with people hopefully can really help people, because again, it can get bucketed as a thing like, oh, I've got to do marketing and it's this thing over here that's quite alien and difficult and I've got to do all this stuff. But actually think of it more as like, oh, I get to build relationships with some people and tell them about why I'm so passionate about what I do. I get to hear about what they're interested in and what they're concerned about, and tell them how my product or service can help and benefit them. It is a conversational relationship that you're doing. It's going to take time. If things don't happen straight away, it's okay. That's normal. You're not doing anything wrong. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah.
Big brands that we've worked with, even when they're spending millions of pounds, will be taking years to build up good customer bases and to scale. So it's going to take you time. So don't panic. You're probably doing everything right. Just
Yeah,
be patient.
but I guess don't be disheartened by it either. Like, if
Yeah.
you're not seeing that overnight success, which so many people do talk about, that's okay. I mean, I think it's something, I haven't read the most recent stats, but something like 22 to 27 times for people to actually see you, to connect with you, to then go on to buy from you. And that in relative terms is a big number, that isn't going to happen overnight. And yes, social media is one of those things that helps us do it quicker. Nurture sequences, emails, all of these things help us do things quicker. But it all goes back to that mindset piece. It goes back to recognizing that marketing is part of your business. It's something that we all have to do. And if we can get into that comfort feeling and, taking that CEO approach, then we're much better placed to be able to use it as an amazing tool to help you grow and scale your business.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Try and enjoy it. Try and enjoy it. It doesn't have to be big.
yeah,
If you think
find
of
those
it nice
elements.
as relationship building and talking to people and connecting with people, it can be fun. It can be
Yeah,
enjoyable, So yeah, don't try and enjoy it and have some fun with it. It's your business, so you get to do it how you want, and you get to communicate in a way that's authentic to you, and that can be really fun and freeing. So yeah, try and have
definitely.
fun with it.
I'm just going to touch on that actually. I know we were kind of wrapping up slightly then, but I'm just going to add something in here because I think it's quite interesting that sometimes when we are looking to grow our business and we go into that kind of scarcity mindset, we then start feeling like we need to sell and we want to have that overnight success that we're told about and those sales coming in and the income kind of growing. I think especially over the last couple of years we have seen that kind of scarcity mindset coming back in where things have happened out of our control. But actually, if we can, as you say, reframe that into, I'm just going to get out there and have conversations with people. I'm going to have a relationship, build those relationships, see what happens. That is much more genuine way, a much more fun way of running a business because, and it's actually one of the reasons that I set up this podcast is that I get to have chats with amazing people like you, and that I probably would never have had those kind of crossovers or if we're in different worlds. And, so I've had so many amazing conversations on here and it's not because I'm trying to sell anything. Like I'm having a conversation with you because it's giving value to people and it's just sharing more and more things to help more people be successful in their businesses. And I think if you go into it with that kind of value led and also having a bit of fun, enjoying it, enjoying the process, then actually you're going to get a lot more out of your business and not get into that resentful mode. And yeah, kind of keep showing up in the ways that actually feels good for you, feels aligned to you. So yeah, bring it back into that mindset piece again.
Yeah, exactly. Everything you just said, exactly. Perfect.
Oh, it's been amazing to chat to you today. Thank you so much for joining me. And you have an amazing training video on your website, don't you? Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, we've obviously touched on talking about ideal customers and clients today. And what I found when I was talking to people is that they knew it as a concept that they should be doing it, but they didn't really know why. So I did a training video that just explains how to use your ideal customer to create content. So this is why you're doing it. This is why you spend time fleshing it out, and it will help you create content in an easier way. So you can download that free on my website. It's just a free training video. And I really recommend that people start there when they're starting to think about their marketing, and it will help inform all the other things we've talked about as well. So yeah, you can download that for free.
Amazing. Thank you so much. It's been lovely to chat to you and to our listeners. I would love some feedback. So make sure that you leave some comments for us and anything that you need, then feel free to come and find myself on Sarah Cook Marketing or Dana. And do you want to share your social links as well so
Yeah,
people can
yeah.
find
The
you?
website is thebigupco.com, and on Instagram I'm at _thebigupco. And on Facebook I've got a group called the Sell with Swagger Collective, where we're all about selling confidently. So you can come there, and I do like free training tips and sessions in there as well.
Fantastic. Brilliant. Thanks so much for joining me. And to you listeners, I will see you on the next episode.